What is up, gamers? I'm Rick Kakis, and today we are going to be discussing kind of a touchy subject within Destiny 2. It has happened before, it's happening now, and it's likely to happen again, just due to the nature of how Bungie balances the game. And what's happened most recently is that we just got a hotfix that contained the biggest nerf to Stasis subclasses and abilities in general that we have ever seen in Destiny 2 since Stasis was introduced with Beyond Light. But here's the thing, every single one of these changes to Stasis was done for PvP reasons. It was entirely directed at Stasis's performance and dominance in the Crucible. However, a lot of these changes also affected Stasis's performance in PvE. And once this hotfix hit the game, of course, there was a lot of positive feedback from people talking about how it has been lessened in PvP, but then more and more people started to pipe up saying, wait a minute, I want to use, the Behemoth Titan especially in PvE, and that feels way worse to use. And that feels like trash to use, and how I used to use it is not even possible anymore because of these changes. So did Bungie drop the ball? Did Bungie get overly aggressive for PvP reasons and kind of neuter or ruin these subclasses in PvE? Or did Bungie also drop the ball by not counteracting any of these changes with PvE buffs, right? And that is what we're discussing in this video. Now, some of you may be thinking, come on, how bad is it really? Did it really affect the PvE performance that much? Well, as I said, the Behemoth Titan seemingly got the worst end of this bargain. So that subclass is gonna be what we're focusing on because it's the easiest to show you guys, look, this is how much, worse this has gotten. But rest assured, all three Stasis subclasses were negatively affected in terms of their performance in PvE. But with the Behemoth, what exactly changed that makes the biggest impact in PvE? Well, there's a couple of things. Firstly, the travel distance and the speed of the melee. So as you can see right here, I'm showing some footage from a video I did where I compared gameplay from before and after the hotfix. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. It has trash views, but I'm telling you, it's actually a really good video. Right here, you can see that the distance and the speed I travel is much less. Now, that matters in a PvE environment actually quite a bit because as anyone who played the Behemoth would tell you, that ability was just as much a movement ability as it was an actual melee ability. You would use it all the time to get out of sticky situations. If there was an enemy right in front of you, an explosive shank, and you needed to get the hell out of there, you would turn and you would use that melee to yeet yourself across the map, or maybe make a jump that you weren't able to make. It was actually an ability with a ton of utility, and due to this nerf, its utility has gone down quite a bit. You can't do the same movement shenanigans that you could before this patch. Okay, so that's definitely one thing. But really the main thing is the change to the cryoclasm aspect that improved your slide. So before, as you can see, you were able to slide right after you started running, and you could slide kind of twice in a row, and then there would be a cooldown. But after this hotfix, now you have to run for 1.25 seconds before you can perform this slide. And this is actually really impactful for PvE play because one of the most common things you would do as a Behemoth in PvE that was fantastic for ad clearing is that you would throw down a glacial grenade, hit a bunch of enemies, and slide into it with cryoclasm, and that would shatter the stasis crystals and kill all the enemies nearby. So it was, again, fantastic for ad clearing. If you combine this with some of the stuff that gives you benefits for shattering stasis crystals, for example, getting the shards that improve your melee regen and stuff, like you could really have kind of a stasis anti-ad build going here. But now you aren't able to do that. And if you've been seeing the background gameplay, you'll see like I throw down a glacial grenade and then I've got to like turn and run in a circle and do all this awkward stuff and then come back and get that slide off. Now, that's definitely doable if you're doing somewhat lower level content, but if you wanted to bring the subclass into anything like a Nightfall, you might not have the time to run around in a circle and then slide just to shatter this crystal. So one of the main reasons to use this subclass, the grenade into slide wombo combo, that has been all but taken away. You can still do it technically, but it is so much worse. And stuff like that matters so much because it's not like Stasis subclasses were S tier in PvE. They were certainly S+++ tier in PvP, but most commonly you would be running, if you're on a Titan, something like a bubble if you're doing a high level serious activity. And the Thunder Crash subclass in combination with the Cuirass of the Falling Star has risen quite a bit in terms of utility in PvE as well. But it's really not like these Stasis subclasses were brought down a peg when they were already superior or one of the top choices. I actually do think they're a little bit underrated in terms of high-level content, especially the Shadebinder Warlock if you're using the Bleak Watcher aspect to make those stasis turrets. Like, when you start to like constantly freeze champions as they're charging at you, you realize, oh wait, this is actually like a really useful thing, but that's kind of a whole other topic. My point is, because these weren't at the upper echelon, when you take away some of their good factors, like that wombo combo for the Behemoth, or you take away a little bit of resilience, so you take away just a little bit of recharge time or effectiveness of these abilities, etc., you really hurt its performance because people who were using these subclasses were already kind of going off meta and using it because of their own personal preference. But if you take away that performance, if you take away a few of the good things those subclasses can do, those people are so likely to just go, screw it, I'm gonna use the meta. I'm gonna use, a Bubble Titan. I'm gonna use a Well Warlock with Phoenix Protocol. I'm gonna use the boring same old stuff that we've been using for a very long time. And as someone who is mainly a PvE player, that feeling really sucks. The feeling of something you enjoyed using getting worse because people in PvP couldn't settle down a bit. It is definitely a bad feeling. The good news is that, as you can see by this comment, Bungie seemingly acknowledges that this is a thing and potentially a stasis buff for PvE specifically is not out of the question. And that is fantastic. But Bungie moves at a snail's pace. Like, when could we possibly see this? The earliest would be the next season entirely, but it's possible we won't see anything till the Witch Queen, right? And because of that, I think every time we get a nerf that's clearly done for PvP reasons, it needs to be offset in PvE. Sometimes that's a little bit tricky because with the, Behemoth slide example I just gave, you're changing entirely how that system works. Like, just the entire process of that aspect is different before and after that patch. So how do you buff it in PvE? I don't exactly know. Perhaps just increase the damage that you do for shattering a stasis crystal in PvE so that the extra hoops you have to jump through actually accomplishes something greater instead of extra hoops to accomplish exactly what you could accomplish before, right? But frankly, at the end of the video, I've got to bring up the topic that I'm sure a lot of people have already started bringing up in the comment section, which is, why don't you just balance these things separately to begin with? That has been one of the biggest raging arguments within the Destiny community for years, since Destiny 1 came out. Bungie has said specifically that they don't want to do that because they feel like there should be a unity in terms of your abilities. A grenade should do the same thing in PvP as it does in PvE, because it's going to feel quite weird, especially for new players, in fairness, if they have this build working in PvE and they take it into PvP and it works entirely different. With that being said, it's not like you can spawn Warmind cells you know, and half of the elemental well stuff and all that stuff doesn't work in PvP anyways, so Bungie is already kind of moving in that direction. Maybe it's time to just have two completely different sandboxes, because this is gonna keep happening again and again and again until this is solved. So guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed, found this interesting. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.